Hello friends, welcome back. In this video I want to talk about that video, and by the way, thank you Boris for sending me the link through. I always appreciate a really good video about music or musical aspects, and yeah, and I thought this video was worthwhile of a short discussion, because this is a bit, the video is called Finding the Perfect Sound. And because this man with his collection is in a very good position to judge the quality of the different media, and he can compare it to the master tape. Now it's not really the master tape, but it's as close as you can get to a master tape. So that's what this video is about. This video also has a music clip in it where it compares two versions of the Beatles, but because of the very strict copyright restrictions on Beatles songs and so on, I can't play any of this video, or I'll get, the video gets blocked and I can't publish it. So there you go. Anyway, what I did want to go into was the different sound, the sound quality of the different media, and that is what the point I want to discuss. By the way, you can watch this video. The link will be in the description. So you can watch it yourself. I really recommend it. It's an interesting video. I also added it to my channel's playlist. It's called More on Music. It's about 74 videos in there. Interviews with speaker designers, just old musicians, all kinds of things. So if you have nothing to do someday, just check out the playlist and pick what you like. It's a bit of a varied list. It's not really separated by topic, but you might find just some interesting goodies there. If you have any interesting links yourself, just put them in the comments, and I'll pick them up. So let's get into this bit. So this man, James Tang, is in a pretty good position, as I said, to judge the quality of the different media, and they've put it for us in a graph in this video, so that's very interesting. So here we got the master tape, and what this really is probably the final mix down that was used for maybe the disc cutting. And so he compares it to all the other media, and we'll now go through it, and so we can have a look at how he scales everything in. So here we got that copy, the final stereo mix down, and he puts that at 100%, so that is our reference. Then here we got the open reel tape at 70%, and then this is surprising, the cassette tape, the compact cassette tape, at 50%, and then we've got the vinyl probably at 43-44% or so. Then we got the CD here under 25%, which is sort of maybe 22%, and then here at 6-7% or so we got the bitstream Blu-ray format. So now this is only one man's opinion, but one that is in a pretty good position to have some say about this. You know, unlike us, we probably don't have all these things available and ready to be played. So definitely not the same copy. And yes. Now my personal experience in this, of course, is probably open reel tape, which I only, when I was young, my late uncle used to have one, and so I do know what copies sounded like of the original, and that was extremely close. So at least at 15 IPS, so 15 inch per second, it was very high quality. Even on a quite average machine, which quite just regular tapes that you could get at the time. Very good quality, and definitely a way also to preserve, for example, your LPs or other recordings, and just put it on tape, or even a microphone. Then of course, for me personally, I've been on digital for about 30 years, and I started out quite well because I had a TDA 1541 single crown CD player. It was a very 11 kilo beast from Philips. CD880 was the model. So I started out quite well with this, and you know, it didn't have the crackles, but anyway, I've been on this format, and only last year I moved to also have starting to build a collection with LPs, and I must say I do, and my system, these two are in this completely the same price category. If you do the streamer plus the cost of the deck, that compares to the final setup that I have, the phone and stage plus the record player. And of course that is all second hand, so that it is a bit of an unfair comparison, but anyway. And I've got Blu-ray, which I don't have. But I must say, is it twice as good LP? Well, in my judgment, it is a lot less mechanical and it doesn't have the digital fingerprint. And especially with good recordings, I'll still always have the digital fingerprint, however good it can sound. And I would say what has it in common is that both are very dependent on the amount of manipulation that has been done in the recording process. So if you have multi-tracked recordings, multiple takes, you know, think maybe Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon or something, you can hear that they've run around with the tapes a lot and it degrades obviously. But then the same thing happens with digital. If it was EQ'd a lot of times and so on, and it was processed a lot, it despite being digital and lossless, it just has it shows. So both medias can easily excel the other. However, I would say on the whole, I prefer the sound there. Now, that's my personal experience. But what is interesting, if we look at the whole here, we've got a progression of technology really reducing over time, according to this man. And of course, the timeline isn't exactly correct, because if we look at the long play format of the LP was of course invented before the compact cassette, because this I think was invented by Philips in the early 70s. This was the standard for 33 RPM long play LPs, was I think conceived around 1950, and CD of course came in at 1980s, 1979, ideated by Sony and invented by Sony and Philips. And of course discs existed before the master tape, because that was a direct-to-disc recording, I think, mostly, and we had like the 1910s, 20s, 30s and so on. We had the 78 RPM records, but they didn't come from master tape. Now the story with master tape and the timing is, I'll probably mention it because I've heard some stories here that when the Allied went into Germany, they heard sounds in bunkers playing and they thought somebody was there, and then eventually they just found a tape recorder because they were seemingly unaware that people could record sound on tape. Now that particular story, I find I would call BS on that, and I'll tell you why. Look at this. Now this is a record, was released after the world, I think in the early 1960s, if I'm not mistaken. And it was conductor Willem Mengelenberg. They're playing two symphonies from Beethoven, number 5 and number 9. And it was in the Amsterdam Concertgebouw. And it was recorded by Philips. And on magnetic tape, 1939. Now, I find this is not that spectacular, but it's in a very early, of course, master tape recording, if you will, where it was recorded on tape. Probably just dual, not sure, it's probably single channel tape, and by a pro-German conductor. The music style is also a bit in that direction, what you would expect from that. So it's an interesting record, but it definitely puts in that on continental Europe at least, they had master tapes in commercial use. Philips was using it for commercial recording, for audio. So yeah, it was in use. But of course, the LP came later, and this was probably a derivative from having master tapes. So that's how I would put the chronology. But the overall chronology is, as time progresses, shit went down. To say it a bit simplistic. Anyway, I hope you find this interesting. Please have a look at this original video. I think it's a nice video. As said, has some examples from music in there as well. I think it's an interesting video. Thank you, Boris, for sending it through. Everybody else, thank you for listening. I hope to catch you in the next video, and until then, have a brilliant day and take care. Bye bye.